Aku mau hanya dia saja. Mimpi-mimpi menjelma kenyataan. Aku mau terima segala.
I don't know how this book is going to end, but I believe I have the general grasp in this penultimate review. The calm before a storm. The operative word is up, because I have a feeling that the climax of this book will tease out a world-shattering endgame, with later entries giving us the meat and potatoes. So far, Iron Flame is looking to be the setup book in the series, focusing on laying the groundwork for bigger payoffs much later. However, as it stands on its own 2 feet, I'm getting ahead of myself. Now that I'm well into the second half of this book and 80% finished, I have already come to a conclusion about Iron Flame that I'm not sure it will change even when I finish it, but I will tell you that conclusion in my last review. Manny Reeds here, aka The Book Husband, and this is part 4 of the 5-part review series for Iron Flame. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to follow my journey into this world and other reviews of books that catch my interest. Without further ado, let's jump back in. So far, part 2 of Iron Flame delves deeper into the lore of their world, this time being foreign to not just the audience, but Violet as well. Not just lore, but politics and dynamics between different factions, in which Violet is trying her best to comprehend. There were many things I wanted explanations about that I was finally given in this section of the book. One example was why the relics propel Melgren's powers. When I first read that Melgren's dragon put the relics on the children of the traitors, I wondered why he would do something to intentionally leave him blindsided. What could have been a narrative-crushing contrivance turned into something that actually enriched the story and magic system. Speaking of, finally, and I mean finally, we are blessed with someone doing something creative with their powers. That had been one of my biggest gripes in this book, because it almost felt like a factor that was tossed aside for dragons and knife play. Not once, but twice did Violet show her creativity with her lightning ability that made me put down my Kindle and let out an imaginary thug tear. Not just that, but actual training for her to refine her powers instead of casting full lightning strikes like a drunken Thor. Felix, Violet's new Signet instructor, is my spirit animal. A nonchalant guy, giving sound advice, spitting bars, and most importantly, wanting to polish the diamond in the rough that is Violet. The inner trainer in me always gets giddy anytime he's on the scene. My only hope now is that the rest of the cast catches up to Violet's creativity. If you give it some thought, I'm sure there were many ways for the characters in the cliff climbing scene who could have used their powers to prevent that flyer from dying. I'm just saying. Speaking more about the cliff scene, I understand that its true purpose was to show the dichotomy between the flyers and the riders, reminding me of the time Violet and her band had to walk the dragon path. The level of camaraderie between the flyers and their griffins differ heavily because they practice unity and empathy as a whole, not just towards their squads. When the one griffin died because his flyer fell to her death, every griffin mourned compared to when a rider dies. Dragons just chuff, whatever a chuff is, and move on to the next one, more or less. You know what they say, these hoes ain't loyal. This show of affection highlights our main cast barbaric traditions and hopefully hammers home that their way of life was fundamentally flawed. The smaller stakes tension under the umbrella of the wider world-ending tension is the dynamic between Violet and Cat. I'm glad that the jealousy that seeped out of Violet was due to Cat messing with her mind instead of it actually being how Violet felt. Granted, it was told that those feelings were always there and not planted by Cat helped what could have been a devolution or de-evolution in Violet's character. Either way, love triangles always annoy me, especially when the person in the middle has an obvious preference. It also helps that Cat's behavior is more for power than Xaden's affection. Was it disclosed earlier in the series that he was royalty? I may have missed something because I thought that came out of left field. On to the subject of loyalty. Yes, the infamous throne scene. I said in my previous review that Violet and Xaden's last sex scene added nothing to the plot and actually hurt Xaden's characterization. It made him flip-floppy on his words on not using sex as a tool, and I thought, or should I say hope, that when they finally got back to having sex again, it would be because the couple had a breakthrough narratively. I wish that the throne scene was the first, if not the only sex scene of the book, because it highlighted how he feels about Violet more than his birthright. Much to my chagrin, for personal reasons. It wasn't just lip service, he both literally and figuratively said, "Fuck the throne." I liked that detail narratively, and it did a little more to help with Xaden's characterization. This section, while having more enjoyable scenes that moved the plot forward in all part 1, was still on the slower side for my taste. It's a long game of chess, simply put. Grandmasters taking their sweet time, meticulously moving pieces on the board. Big brain plays are being made, but the audience isn't privy to it until the very end. There's a reason why the second Avengers movie is considered the least favorite one. I'm just saying. And on that note, we're in the end game. Side notes. Every time Violet, or should I say the narrative, says the phrase, quote, the chemistry between me and Zayden, I was actually surprised how often I read that line, and I always roll my eyes and cringe. Is Violet trying to validate it for herself, which would contradict her earlier statement she made about their relationship, or for the audience? Do you not trust in the relationship you've built up for 2 books so much that you constantly have to tell me about its quote-unquote awesome chemistry? This, among other factors, is the reason why I'm not too blown away by Rebecca Yarros' writing style. I'm glad Violet called out Zayden when she wanted to meet Takaris. He was pulling some early Dane activity, and Violet checked that shit with quickness. The Venom being in the box was a great surprise, and it reminded me of the scene in Game of Thrones when they captured the White Walker. From the beginning of this book, I stopped having a favorite character for a number of different reasons. Dane is growing on me, especially for what he did to break out Violet, but he still has some room to grow, showing that big dick energy. Until then, in Felix we trust. Pouring out for that one flyer who fell to her death. If only there was someone with wind manipulation abilities to help propel her forward. And Darna, I have very big expectations from you. It seems to me things are being built up for her to be a major player, otherwise she has mostly been a liability. Hope you guys liked this 4th review of Iron Flame. Remember to like and subscribe and also share this. Anyway, my name is Manny Reese, aka The Book Husband, and I'm about to finish up this book right quick. So I'll see y'all in the next video. Y'all take care.